Hi guys, Robert Optimal Bodies, sponsored by Damn Fitness, great gym clothing. So check them out at damnfitness.com and on Facebook, give them a like and a share. Great company doing some great things. Okay, is your morning coffee making you tired? Bit of a weird question, you think it'd be the opposite, waking you up. So we'll have to backtrack and talk about caffeine to give you a perspective of what I'm getting on about in this video. So how many people get up and feel like they need a cup of coffee or they need a tea just to feel somewhat normal? And it all depends on your tolerance, which I'm going to speak of as well. So some people might feel really awake. Some people might just need it just to bring them back up to that normal level, not even get a big high or a buzz from it, which is what the caffeine can do if you haven't got a tolerance to it. So caffeine technically it is a drug. So alcohol's a drug, nicotine's a drug. These legal drugs, just because they're legal, doesn't mean they're not a drug and they don't have drug-like effects. So with the caffeine, what is it? It's a stimulant, and it does this by binding to receptors in your brain. Bit complicated, but I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. It binds to adenosine receptors. So normally you have these receptors, you've got them all over your brain. So I'll represent these with my fingers. So you've got these spaces, and then adenosine, a neurotransmitter, comes in. It locks into these receptors and then it has an effect on that nerve cell. In this case, adenosine causes a slowing down, so it's an inhibitory neurotransmitter, not an excitatory neurotransmitter. So it slows the nerve cell down and it builds up throughout the day as we move around and we do exercise, and it makes us tired, which makes sense. You're doing a lot of work, this is the waste product, and it tells the nerve cell and the brain that we need to relax, calm down, get rid of toxins, refuel, that sort of thing, so we get tired. Now, how does in particular caffeine work? So what it does is, with these receptors, it looks a lot like the same adenosine neurotransmitter. So it also latches onto these receptors, but it doesn't slow down the nerve cell and cause a sleepiness effect. It blocks adenosine getting in because these receptors docking stations are already taken up. So, and there's a lot of complicated factors, but basically it leads to the nerve cell actually speeding up and doing the opposite. So you get like an adrenaline release, so you get a big high, you get lots of energy, you feel awake. You also get like a dopamine release, and you can feel happy and motivated. And that's why I think that people have cups of teas and coffees. They'll when they meet a friend or something, they get really chatty, and you become more friendly. So see if you can figure out if you're really depressed or you're feeling a bit down. You have a coffee. Does it make you happy again and bring you back up? In that case, you've seen the effect and you've probably built up a tolerance to it. So, what am I getting at? I don't think you should need a cup of coffee or caffeine fix, whether it's from coffee, tea, chocolate. So you think when people are depressed they eat chocolate. Now you might know why. And also just to feel somewhat normal in the morning. And also people feel they need it, or a pre-workout drink, whether it's from these ready-made drinks with caffeine in, or you make your own, just to get motivated and take part in a gym session in your workout. You shouldn't need that just to get going. And I'll say about my recommendations of using it. I'm not saying cut coffee out and caffeine completely, but it's nice to know what's going on inside the body with this drug-like effect that it causes, and then you can make your own decision. So, what happens? Say you've never had coffee before, never had caffeine before, you have caffeine, and most of you remember you'll get a big high from it, and I bet you never had that again since, unless you have a larger amount. So you haven't built up a tolerance to it, which means your body's always trying to stay in balance, particularly in homeostasis. So let's use this as an example. Say my hand's a nerve cell. We've got two spaces for these adenosine receptors. So you have a cup of coffee, the adenosine receptors get blocked by the caffeine, and you get a buzz, you get adrenaline rush, etc., etc. What the coffee does, you get the opposite effect of what the adenosine should do and make you tired. So what does your body do? It's recognizing all this activity going on, these nerve cells, all this increased firing of nerve cells, and it wants to stay in balance. So it simply upregulates receptors. So instead of just having two spaces, it might have some more, so you've got a couple more spaces. So it's trying to remain in balance. So you have the same cup of coffee or the same caffeine amount. It blocks these receptors, but you've still got these spaces free. So it's trying to so adenosine can come into there and it remains in balance. This part of the nerve cell might be speeded up, this is slowed down, and it balances out. So you can, that's what tolerance is, and it's building up a tolerance to that amount. So it's trying to remain in balance. So what do you have to do? So if you just had the same amount of caffeine, you might just have to have that caffeine to feel awake, because you've got these extra adenosine receptors. So that once the caffeine's out of the way, these receptors are still there. The adenosine comes in, and you can get double the amount of fatigue, where normally you'd just feel tired. Normally you might go to bed and you might be ready for sleep, but if it's just through the day and you haven't got your coffee, but you've got this tolerance build up and these more receptors, you can get double the effect of the drowsiness. So that's known as a caffeine crash. And then you think, I need a cup of coffee to bring me back up. You may be at work, you may be ready to go to the gym, and you're just feeling knackered, you're not ready for it, you're tired. So yeah, you put the coffee in, and then because of this tolerance, you might need double the amount of caffeine. So you might have instead of having a small, you might have a large shot of coffee, or wherever you get it from, to bring you back up to normal. So you can see how it builds up, and it's the same with any other drug. It might not be as enhance the effects, but it is actually happening, and studies have proven it. So what can we do with this information? I recommend, if you're getting certain sort of symptoms, so if you feel you need coffee, if you're feeling really tired in the morning and you have to have it for then, if you're feeling tired before a workout and you feel like you have to have it then, just to get through the workout. Headaches, if you haven't got a coffee, and then if you can track this by having a coffee once you've got a headache and it can go away, that means you've built up a tolerance to it. It doesn't mean you need the coffee's getting rid of your headache and that's why you have to have coffee. It's giving you a signal that you're having too much caffeine. Headache, depression, feeling really groggy, not being able to get into a deep sleep. So caffeine can prevent you from going into the REM sleep, the rapid eye movement sleep, which we need to recover properly into these deep sleeps. So if you're having like disturbed sleep patterns, can't get to sleep in the first place, or you're waking up in the middle of the night, or you wake up in the morning and you feel like you haven't been to sleep, that's most likely because of the caffeine. So yeah, with the headaches as well, they're really popular with the symptoms. That's like one of the main ones. A lot of people think it's dehydration, but it can be the caffeine. So I recommend, say you have 5 cups of coffee a day and you're wanting to get rid of these symptoms, and you sort of need to wean yourself off it. If you just go cold turkey and go no coffee at all, you're going to have some bad withdrawal symptoms. You're going to get headaches, you're going to get maybe some depression, feeling groggy and tired. And that's because your body's depending on the caffeine to do the job of what your body should naturally be doing. So I wouldn't just cut it out completely. I'd go 4 a day for a week, then 3 a day for a week, 2 a day for a week, and then maybe just keep it at 1, and then it's up to you with how you play around with it. It is sociable, but you don't have to have it. You can replace some of them with decaf or a weaker caffeine fix, like from some chocolate or some tea. So it depends if you want to come off it completely, or you just want to get rid of these negative side effects and the tolerance build up from the withdrawal as well. So I recommend, if you train or you're some sort of athlete or you're in the gym, having the caffeine pre-workout, and again, it depends what time you train. So if you're training quite late, caffeine has a half-life of up to around 6 hours in your system, depending on how much you have at the time. So like an average cup of coffee, after about 6 hours, the caffeine content in your system is still at half an amount of what it was. So people say, I don't have it before bed because it can disturb your sleep. Most of us know that. But if you've had it 6 hours before bed, you might think you've left it long enough, but half of it's still in your system, so that can be disturbing your sleep. So be wary of what time you're taking it. But as a rule, I'd something to go by, I'd say have it pre-workout when you really feel you need it. You want to get some real, or before like a sports game, a rugby game, football, or a powerlifting event, something like if you're competing. Have it then, and you'll get a really big effect from it, because what happens is these receptors that you've accumulated more because your body's trying to balance out, they'll start to down-regulate and your body will get rid of them again. So it can take a while for you to normalise, but once it's dropped them back down, you become sensitive to the caffeine again. So you can have a small amount and get a big buzz from it and a big effect without having to have loads. And then you might come off it for a few days And then if you're not feeling up for the gym, just like you might just be a bit down or something, but you want to train, put the caffeine in then. It's doing a very distinct job, a very particular time for a particular purpose. So make it to your advantage. You wouldn't take a drug, unless you're a drug addict, you wouldn't take it every day, all day. That's what you're doing with the coffee and the caffeine, with the chocolate and teas. So if you look at it like that, then use it as a tool at the right times. And be aware of this half-life. So hopefully I haven't confused people too much, but I'm just trying to put into context that it is a drug. Same with alcohol, look at it like that. And you wouldn't take it all day, every day, or you might be called an alcoholic. So what you can do, I know it's sociable to habits, so you can replace it with decaf, or you can have these week of caffeine-free teas that are like a fruit tea or something like that. So they've got some sort of flavour. They're not loaded with sugar. They're usually very, very small amounts. But you can still remain sociable, have a drink with somebody. It doesn't have to be this caffeine fix. And be aware that if you do come off, try and wean yourself off it slightly if you're having quite a lot. It's going to take some time, and you're going to have, they reckon around 10 days it could be, where you could have headaches for that amount of time, depending how long you've been having caffeine. So it could be years and years when you've been having it every day, and the amount you've been having. So it's very individual. So any questions about it and you're worried about any symptoms, give me a message and I can talk you through it and give you my perspective on it. So do expect these withdrawal symptoms, and if you do get them, see it as a good thing, because it means that you've been aware of it. And if you've got the withdrawal symptoms, it means you probably have some sort of slight addiction to it, and that you have built up a tolerance, and it's good time to balance out your neurology and your brain, get everything on the right balance. So you're tired when you should be tired, you're awake when we should be awake, and it'll all start to balance out. So thanks for listening, guys. So try cut your caffeine down if you're having too much. If you want to get rid of any of these symptoms that I spoke of before, if you like having it and you still want it and you don't care, then fair enough, that's your life. But I'm just giving the information. So any questions, please post in the comments below, drop me a private message, please like, share my page, invite your friends if you think they'll benefit from information. Thanks for listening, guys. Cheers.